stole a Lego.
Yeah.
Not good.
I realized it taught me something, right? Like I learned something from that. And
Jesus asked you, why should I let you into my heaven? Like, what do you think you would say? So, as the devil's advocate, what I would argue is that I should be able to kill midgets. The Bible's actually what condemns it.
that's a good point. Yeah.
It's another guy who looks like Mr. Ballin right here. What's up, Elijah? What's your name?
I'm Braden.
Braden? You know what Mr. Ballin is?
Mr. Ballin? No, I don't. Actually.
You know, you should look him up, man.
I will. Yeah.
You look like he's huge on YouTube. He tells us like stories. Guys, you'll listen to him and you'll be mesmerized. He's like medical mysteries, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, he's like tons of millions of subscribers. But what do you think, man? Do you agree with both parts of the sign? Yeah, so like we're anti-abortion, so we hold. Yeah, so like we're not pro-life, we're abolitionists. That means that we hold to that the unborn child should have complete equal protection to a born person, and that means everything applies. Like everything that applies to a born person applies to an unborn person. So like what I'm for is there are bills of equal protection that have been brought forward in different places, and one of those bills was brought forward in Louisiana. It's called HB 813. And 70 pro-life organizations actually wrote a letter against that bill. Yeah. So there is this very big divide between abolition, which we would hold to, it needs to be completely abolished, it needs to be completely criminalized, just equal protection of the law, and then pro-lifers who they in the letter it said that they believe that women are victims. And to be fair, there are a few, by a few I mean literally like maybe 3 pro-life organizations that support abolition. But that's about it. So, anyways, what do you think? What's your opinion?
Well, in the past, I've tried to not get super involved in this.
Okay.
One, because, like, oh man, I'm not the one having a baby, but also, like...
You're also not old enough, you haven't had a kid yet.
Exactly that. But also, like, I don't know, just, like, from my experience in the past, most of this stuff has just been a screaming match. Between pro-life and pro-choice. Like...
Yeah,
like people are just very like close-minded about their opinions, and like I don't know. I've got some opinions on it personally, but like I just try not to get like super involved in it.
Yeah.
But also again, I do try to keep an open mind and just listen to people's perspectives. And
yeah. So I think that like I'm glad that you're like willing to listen and talk. Most people are just like flipping us off.
I was just about to ask, like how many people
doing
like
It happens all the time. It's not a big deal. Like I would still have a conversation with those people. So anyways, the biggest thing that you need to like determine is whether or not you believe that human life, when human life begins. And even if you Google it, even Google agrees that human life begins as conception. Like even Google. Like you Google it right now, you say, when does human life begin? It will say conception. Okay? So as soon as that happens, new set of DNA. And any step that you choose along the way where you say, oh, it's not a kid yet or whatever, that can be applied to a born person. So like heartbeat. Okay, well there's people who have like tons of support, artificial hearts who are literally running because a machine is pumping blood through their body. Are they not people?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
They are people.
Again, then you also like people on old people on their life support.
Are they not a person? Yeah. So then the next one, like consciousness. So like it's not conscious yet. It hasn't thought. It doesn't have brain waves. Which the more we find out that those brain waves actually go further and further. Like they start earlier and earlier. Anyways, so brain waves. There are people who aren't conscious. Can we stab them? No, we can't stab them. You know, there are people whose brains have stopped and they've been resuscitated. We don't have to. We can't just kill that person. Like if we have to try to save life, right? That should be the goal. And so it's the same thing. Like people bring up these instances where they're like, life of the mother, this, that, and the other thing, right? It's like, well, do you understand what abortion is? Like, I don't know. I don't even know if you do. Maybe you don't. It is literally just the procedure to kill that baby and get it out of the womb. Like, that's it. So, like, maybe, by maybe I mean there's always another option besides just killing the baby, ripping it out limb by limb. I just found out C-sections have like I think it's like 30 or it's like 30 and 100,000 deaths. It is incredibly safe. Incredibly safe. My neighbor has a kid who was born at 1 pound and some odd ounces. And he's 21. He's like building, like he's putting together cars and like, oh. So, I mean, so that's what I would encourage you to think about.
Yeah. I mean, personally, like, again, I told you I don't get like super involved with it, but like, just from what I've seen, what I've heard from both sides of it, I would say I agree with you to a certain sense that like yes, like especially women's pregnant. Again, I just throwing a number out there like 4 or 5 months, 7, like somewhere past that, where it's like an actual, it's like definitely not like it's not born yet, it still relies on whether like aborting that, but like
well, because it looks a lot more like that, right?
Yeah,
that's actually 12 weeks.
12 weeks. Okay.
I think it's 12 weeks. It might be 10. I don't know. Anyways, it's around there.
Yeah, but like personally, I don't really see a problem. I don't see a problem. I know you just said like what begins with conception, but like I don't know. I don't personally. I don't see a problem with like just for an instance, two people like if they have sex, unwanted pregnancy didn't need to happen. Like take Plan B and just personally.
Yeah,
I don't see a problem with that. No, like, it's very, very early along. Like, it was. I don't know. That's just what I see.
Can I devil's advocate for a second?
Yeah.
So, as the devil's advocate, what I would argue is that I should be able to kill midgets because they're a lot smaller than all of us. They're smaller. They're less developed.
And they're also like. And I know another thing that you said about like people like sport and stuff like that.
Yeah. So here.
It's hard, like, because there's a lot of instances. There's a lot of like different scenarios that you play out. Like, but here, I'm sure you hear this all the time. I'll propose this one to you.
Go for it. Yep.
Like it's great. It's
yep.
Like,
yeah. So can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there's this girl. She actually ended up writing a book about this, and she was like 14. She was raped. She got pregnant. Her father-in-law was raped. Disgusting, right?
Yeah.
Death for the rapist, right? Right? Death for the rapist. Okay. Anyways, I'm for that. I'm for the death penalty for anyone who rapes. So, just to be clear. So she gets pregnant. Her father-in-law says, "Go get an abortion." She gets an abortion. Feels really, really bad about it. Continues to get raped. Rapists love abortion, by the way. So she continues to get raped, and then she, against her father-in-law's will and wishes, she says, "I'm going to have this baby." And she lies to him. Well, she started showing. Then her mother started to believe her because she went to her mother and she's like, "Mom, I'm pregnant. I need to get away from this guy." And so then the DNA from that baby was used to bring that rapist to justice. Okay, that's a real story that actually happened. Now, I understand that is a story, That is an anecdote. That's one instance. But you got to understand, rapists love abortion. If you're a rapist, the best thing that could happen for you is for you, from a sinful perspective, is you to get let off scot-free. From an evil perspective, is for you to get off scot-free and her to have an abortion.
Oh, so yeah.
That's what I'm saying from the rapist perspective. That's why they love it. And molesters, all the pedophiles, they love it. The abolitionist position is much more consistent than the pro-life position. Where pro-lifers would say, well, we'll vote for a law that says exceptions to rape and incest. But I believe that that's a child. And it will be difficult for her, for sure. But I would say that even people who are born and that were conceived in rape, I don't want them to be put to death. And I don't want unborn people who are conceived in rape to be put to death. And that woman needs to be supported. I'm 100% for that. I'd give her money, I'd adopt her baby, whatever, right? Like, I've stood outside of abortion clinics and told women, hey, I'll adopt your baby. And I mean it. I have 3 kids, I love kids. They're great. But we're not going to have a society that is just until we're getting a lot, man. You brought them in. As soon as you got here, everybody, Christoph had to no, they're all, yeah, there we go.
Where are you going when you die, man?
Okay. She seems like a very nice person. Wouldn't you want to date that person? Wouldn't you want to go on a date with her? Yeah. So, a lot of it, and I'm unashamed about this, a lot of it comes back to Christianity, for sure. I don't think that if you're an atheist, I don't think that there's any way to justify even thou shalt not murder. We're all just, even Will Provine and Charles Dawkins, you probably heard of them.
Yeah.
Even they would say similarly. They would say the obvious outcome. I'm misquoting a little bit, but Will Provine said the obvious outcome of atheism is that there is no God, there are no morals, there is no right and wrong. So where are you at? You believe in God? Are you questioning?
I've got mixed views on God. I wouldn't call myself a Christian, but I have religious views. Like, I believe in God. One of those things, still a little bit trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Of what exactly I believe. I went to it was a non-denominational high school, but they taught Christian beliefs.
Oh, like a Christian school.
Exactly. So
I went to a Christian school.
I've been around that for a while, and
the Christian school I went to was not good.
Oh yeah.
Was yours good?
I would say it was good. Yeah. I mean, I didn't agree with everything they said.
Okay.
But again, because I wasn't a Christian.
Yeah.
But I was definitely looking back. I think it was nice to be around that. I think it's also nice that I was able to kind of take a little break in high school and not be around it every single day and then shoving Bible classes down your throat and everything like that. But no, I definitely still appreciated, just getting to know that stuff, and I feel better having a knowledge of that. But yeah.
What do you think? What do you think is keeping you from accepting Christ, I guess, from becoming a Christian? Did you think you were a Christian at one time?
When I was younger,
I think you guys can come to a college campus. So you think that's a great?
Well, because I went to a school in 4th grade, and before that I just went to a public school, and 4th, 5th grade, I was just starting to learn about. I remember. I just keep remembering this. There was a time in elementary school. It was 2nd or 3rd grade. Just at the lunch table, talking to my friends. Someone asked me to do you believe in God? And I was like, what's that? Who's that? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'd never heard about it. And then I kind of went from that to Bible class every day, stuff like that. So I think at a time I thought I was, and then when I started growing up definitely high school, I stepped back.
Yo, sure. What's your stance here? I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I'm just talking.
We're just having a
Just
conversation.
having a conversation. Yeah.
It's just civil, civil discourse.
But yeah, and then I kind of started actually like thinking about like just not believing everything they say just because they tell it to me. Because I also, the family I grew up in, my dad, he grew up like Jewish, my mom grew up Catholic.
Sure.
But the way they raised us, they didn't really, I mean, they raised us like on good beliefs, like a lot of similar beliefs.
Right.
But I didn't go to church when I was growing up. Like I didn't, grow up in like a very like religious household.
So they're kind of like Easter, Christmas type, like go to mass on. Yeah.
I have like Jewish like some Jewish ties like on my dad's side too, like the Hanukkah and stuff. But
yeah. So like, what I would like encourage you to think about is. You're probably familiar with like the Ten Commandments, right?
Yeah, of course.
So like, you shouldn't lie, shouldn't cheat, shouldn't steal, these things, should honor the Lord's name, this kind of thing. So like if you stood before God today, if you died, 120,000 people die a day, you stood before God and he said, do you think you'd be guilty or innocent by the Ten Commandments? Like have you lied?
Oh yeah, of course. No.
What does that make you? What do you call someone who lies?
Liar?
Right. I'm a liar too.
Yeah.
Have you stolen? Even something small.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah.
Were you ever into Legos when you were a kid?
Yeah, of course.
I stole a Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not good. I can laugh about it now, but I mean it wasn't good. Anyways. So
like growing up, like you learn about those things.
Right.
You gotta like learn from experience.
Yeah.
Almost. Not saying, oh, everyone should steal and lie.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy about that? I stole that Lego, and 3 months later or whatever, I was playing with my Legos, and I saw that Lego. I don't know what I was, like a third grader or something. And I go to my parents and I'm like, guys, I messed up. Like my conscience was literally convicting me.
I've had that too. Yeah, like I do something and like nobody sees it, but it's still kind of just like eating away at me. I'm like, I gotta tell someone.
So what I would say is that's Romans 1. It says that the law of God is written on everyone's heart. So that's how the entire world. That's how I can look at the entire world and go, everybody knows that rape is wrong. Everybody knows that murder is wrong. Everyone knows that theft is wrong. We all know it. Some people suppress it. Some people push that down, like you were saying, like it's gnawing at your conscience. Like I just left that piece there, that Lego piece that I stole.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but if we stand before God and we're honest about the Ten Commandments, I am lying, and based on Jesus' definition of adultery, which is if I look at someone with lust, then I've committed adultery with them in my heart. I'm an adulterer at heart. I'm a thieving heart. Right? So and that's just 3 of them. By those alone, I'd be guilty. Right? And so that's what you want to think about is, well, if you stood before God, would you be guilty or would you be innocent? Right? And the reality is you would always be guilty.
Right, of course. But, like I said, I went to high school.
Right.
I obviously know the stuff like, if you accept Jesus, you die for sin, you can be forgiven.
Yeah.
Weird stance.
Sure. Yeah, I know you're thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's just something to think about. Yeah.
It's super important. I mean, it completely changed my life, man. Saved my marriage.
I like that.
Like my wife and I were arguing. We were ready to get a divorce. Like things were right on that line. Like she was asking for a divorce, and God just completely turned everything around. And now when I say I wouldn't like you could come over to my house and I'd be like, you would see that this was a happy marriage because of God. Because I started doing things more the right way. Right? I still sin. Everybody still sins.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I've definitely had instances like that. Like I said, I believe in God, and I've the way I would see it is like, okay,
go
like making a thing now, like.
Yeah.
part of the reason I kind of didn't like Christianity, or not didn't like it, but just like didn't, completely agree with it, is a lot just the stories. I know it doesn't happen very often, but just the stories I've heard of like corrupt churches and like stuff like that, like people, praising all this stuff, like a pastor like praises all this stuff, and then he goes off and sins himself. Like I kind of saw that. I'm like, how can you like condemn people and be like, you're bad for doing that, and then you go off and do the same thing like that? Like the hypocrisy kind of like, it's like, I don't like that. So for me, I kind of have just more like personal beliefs. I feel like I have like my own like personal connection with God. Like I've had times in my life too where I felt like I've been angry at God for something. I felt like He's intervened, and I've like thanked Him for other things. Like yeah.
So that's good. He's there. So I'll share something with you, like super personal. So if my pastor went off and raped someone, whatever, okay, that would not change my mind about Christianity, not even a little bit. Okay.
Well, so your beliefs are like kind of higher than like church
and I'm not.
here and like.
I'm not like. I'm saying that to try to encourage you, and the reason why I can say that is because I have personally seen something very, very horrible happen with someone very, very close to me, and they acted horribly. They were a leader, and they just did terrible things, and they claimed Christ. And I watched them, and it's still as horrible, this piece of trash. But anyways, what that doesn't do is it doesn't make me look at the Bible and go, oh, the Bible's right. The Bible's actually what condemns him. Like it's actually what judges him and says, dude, what you did was horrible, And so like, if someone goes out and murders someone, that doesn't change the Constitution. So if someone goes out and murders someone, that doesn't change the Bible either. Or if someone goes out and cheats on their wife or whatever, reality is people are going to fail you. So, yeah.
I was going to say one main belief that I've stuck with for a while is like, just like God is a plan for everything. And obviously, I've experienced a lot. Like sometimes it's really hard to see that, when you like go through hard things in life, like it really sucks. Like, yeah, I just like remember, like one or two things like this summer, like before coming to college, like there were like a couple things. Like I was, kind of just confused. I was like, why did this happen? I don't get it. Like I know, like I still had that belief, like I know you have a plan for everything, but like how does this really fit into that?
Yeah.
And then there were also times where like later down the road, I would see like that sucked at the time, but now I realize it taught me something, or like I learned something from that. And yeah, like so people always say like, oh, if you could go back, like would you change anything? It's like originally I used to think yes, like oh, I'd love to like wipe that out, but now I'm thinking like, wait a minute, if I wipe that out, I wouldn't know what I know now. I wouldn't have learned what I did from it. So.
That's very mature. That's a very mature perspective. The Bible says that anyone that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So, like literally, like if you are a Christian, even your death will work together for your good because you ultimately be in heaven. So, anyways, but then I just the other question, like about the innocent or guilty thing. Once you get to heaven, Jesus asks you, why should I let you into my heaven? Like, what do you think you would say today? Where you're at now. So you just boom, we're dead, we're there. What happens?
I mean, the only thing I can think of right now is like, because I believe in you.
Okay.
That's like the only response, because like obviously I can't be like, well, in this instance, like I kind of had to lie for this reason I had to steal for that, like, like you can't, like, he sees everything he's seen everything that's happened and why, like, Yeah.
You can't justify yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you're standing before God. So, yeah. So like, and that's if you actually believe in Jesus, which you seem like you're kind of on the fence. That's a great answer, right? Like, and obviously, I mean, James 1 says even the demons believe and tremble. But so that is something to think about. It's like, well, it has to be a saving faith, right? Like, it has to be I believe in Jesus, and now, there's all these examples of that being true. You know? So, like, if I stood before God and He asked me that question, I'd be like, yeah, it's all because of Jesus. Like, it's not just like, oh, I know God exists, I pray to you sometimes. It's like, no, my salvation is 100% because of Jesus Christ. I think that is the big difference between Christianity and all other religions. Because other religions say you can work your way to heaven. You can do good things. You can get there on your own accord. You get to heaven, you say, I did right.
Well, I've definitely heard that. Here's why I should get to heaven. I helped this person this time. I did this. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But you know.
Like you just said, like, you can't really, like, you can't, it's hard to justify this. It's like, oh, you did this good thing, but you also did this bad thing. It's like,
you can't.
It's like, I really don't deserve to go to heaven, but Jesus has allowed me to go to heaven.
Yeah,
like,
you can't justify yourself. It's impossible. Like, you can't do enough good to ever outweigh.
No, I know, yeah. It's literally impossible.
Well, you know it, man. You know it. You just gotta hear to hear, right? You gotta believe it in your heart.
Awesome, thank you.
Hey, man,
yeah,
what was your name again?
I'm Braden.
Braden Elijah. It's good talking.
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Having a civilized conversation and not saying, you're wrong, let me tell you why you're wrong.
You know what? If they would just come up to my face and say F you and then talk to me, like, just like, I can take that, man. I used to work in fast food. I would get cussed at all the time. So,
I was just saying, even though like I don't totally like agree with like all of your stances, but still like there's nothing wrong with just having like a civilized conversation with people, like keeping an open mind, hearing something. That's another thing I believe. Having just open mind, even if you don't believe it, like just hear someone else's perspective, just see where they're coming from. Like,
we're all people.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. We all have different beliefs. Like, I just that's another. I just love like hearing other people's beliefs, seeing like, why do you believe that? Oh, cool. This is what I believe in. Wow.
Yeah, and I think God's given us a lot of people to talk to help refine and think about it, because ultimately, if we're not based on at the end of the day, whatever we believe or not, like the truth is what matters. If I don't believe the truth, it doesn't do me much good. I can believe a lie and walk off the bridge and think I'm going to walk off. I can walk on the air, but it's not going to work out.
Still gonna fall down.
So, yeah. That's good. Yeah, it's good talking.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You too.